Hey everybody! As you see here, we have Josh Lau, the wonderful, amazing, warrior aficionado here in the Flesh and Blood community. So, Josh, appreciate you coming on. Should be a fun day here.
Yeah, this should be fun. This should be one of the most unique matchups people will ever see. Olympia
Yep.
and his army of tailors, ready to equip him back with clothes, up against Jarl, the guy who hates armor.
And it's yeah, and it's funny because like even when we were starting, you're like, "Oh, this will be a unique one because I can put it back." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that."
Yeah,
So
re-equip
and
all the clothes. I'm just gonna start off with
and
6
just
here.
to add to the oh god.
Mm-hmm.
What's this? So just to add to the chaos and confusion too.
Yep.
I am not a guardian player by any means. I'm an okay warrior player, not a great warrior player, and like definitely not your level. But I decided when we were inviting you on, I said I want to bring a deck that is special to your team's heart. And so you guys just did I think it was a 4-hour live stream.
Yeah,
talking about the fun of Jarl putting it together.
We combined several of our specialties, which is tier lists and our love of Guardian. So that's what happened. Mm-hmm. This is 4 with basically no on hit. And because it's a pole arm,
no on hit.
No pummel will be coming because you can't pummel a pole arm.
You certainly cannot. And I have made that mistake about 5 times today, practicing, going, oh, yes, I'm going to pummel this. And no, it is not.
Yeah, with our current hand, I think we're pretty good. But, of course, we'll throw the dynamos in there because we don't need those.
I mean, why not?
Yeah,
why
we're going to be attacking twice.
Yeah. So before we get kind of too deep in this, do you want to kind of introduce who you are for the folks that maybe aren't familiar with you and what you do?
Sure. I'm Josh Lau, the token warrior player on the Card Guys. If you enjoy playing warrior, if you enjoy, high-level content that is pretty in-depth, you can check out our channel. We do streams as well. We currently have 6 people on the team, and we have a variety of players. So you'll definitely be able to find something that you like. Yeah, I've been playing Warrior for about 3 years now. I started way back in Crucible of War, and Dorinthia was my first main deck. But then when Bolton came out, I played Bolton, and just enjoying everything there is to do in this game. Yeah, I've been traveling around the world, been to most events. If you've been to a tier 3, tier 4 event, you've probably seen me or the other card guys around.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, I think my first event that I went to, I played against you as like a side event in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, you're the warrior guy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It was cool. I actually still have, you gave me like a Dory sleeve. I still have it hanging up on my little, board over there on this side.
It's almost been a year now. So my friend's an artist, and she drew this for me for Christmas in 2023. And I was like, that's so awesome. I got to make them into sleeves. And so if people come up to me at events, I try to give them a sleeve if I can. So yeah, we're just doing hatchet things here.
Yeah, I mean, which I'm not going to lie. When you said, oh, I'm bringing Olympia, I was a little concerned because I'm sitting there going, okay, Olympia, maybe it's going to be Big X.
Yeah, it could be.
Let this one hit.
But I was like, nah, that's not very fun. Let's we don't want to do that.
And it's actually funny because like you speaking of kind of your team and what you release and everything like that, you did just come out with the A to Z Olympia video.
That is true. Yes.
And I was cracking up when you said, I was cracking up when you're like, oh yeah, this is like generic .deck. That's kind of how he feels right now.
I think that's the most powerful way to play Olympia, but this is definitely the most fun way to play it. So this deck list is heavily reliant on wagering. It's got the dual axes, but instead of like what Dorinthia is trying to do with 3 hits, Olympia is trying to hit you 2 times, but play things like this card.
Okay.
Edge ahead. So edge ahead gives it +3, and when I attack, I can wager. And I'm going to wager this because I don't think you're going to be able to stop 11 dominate, Mr. Jarl.
I mean,
it's a safe bet.
11 is a certainly a very big number.
Yes, it is.
But let's see if
All
we
right,
can
so we'll
make
get an
something
agility
happen
for
here.
next turn. Oh, Pulse of Isolof's is pretty good too. Yeah. Okay. Jarl
And
gonna
then let's just
constantly go
fully
on the
cover
spec.
that 11.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay. Oh, I forgot.
There
Yes,
is
these things
there
exist.
is
Okay.
there is one time in the game I can cover an 11 dominated attack, and that is it.
Yeah, okay. Well, you get an agility token that you won't be able to use.
I am so fast right
But you
now. Let me
denied
tell
me a
you.
gold, so it is worth it. It is all worth it.
I mean, so let's talk about Olympia too a little bit, because
Yeah.
I love Olympia, and it breaks my heart because I think he is a very cool design and a fun hero. But
Yeah.
like, what do you think? I think in the A to Z video you said the line, oh, I trust James White and his team are gonna kind of fix Olympia and get him moving.
Yep.
What do you think Olympia needs to be, in a relatively good spot?
Him and Betsy are actually the two heroes. So if you look at the heroes that were printed in Heavy Hitters, so you have the theme of agility, vigor, might, but you also have the sub theme of wagering and clashing, right? And clashing is kind of the guardian brute thing, and the wagering thing is kind of the warrior guardian thing. And the two heroes that do that, Betsy and Olympia, their hero ability and mechanics are tied so heavily to that wager mechanic that when the card pool is just not deep enough, especially considering those traditionally guardians and warriors are very, very weapon reliant. So one of the simplest fixes that I could think of is creating a weapon that maybe they both can use that ties in with gold or wagering, because that's kind of where things are kind of missing right now.
So like a hybrid guardian warrior weapon of some sort.
Yes, something like that would be cool.
That'd
be good.
I've heard a lot of people talk about like, oh, this is kind of what I think, but I will say that is a first. Is that, and I kind of love that idea.
Yeah. So if
to be fully honest,
now this kind of jumping the gun. I know you want to talk about Fang and Sindra and the Hunted, but so their abilities recently got released. So I think they're actually going to share weapons. So if the Draconic heroes are sharing Draconic daggers, why can't a Guardian and a Warrior share a weapon? Especially if it's wager related or gold related. I think that'd be very thematic.
Sure. I mean, yeah, if there was a way to kind of fix both of those heroes, like I know that there'd be so many people that would just be thrilled. Yeah. It's one of those things that, oh God, I've already made mistakes, I can tell. But it's one of those things that like they think that when they were announced, there was so much excitement around them. Thematically. I mean, we got Kasai, and Kasai was okay. We kind of had KO, so we like that was neat. But like here, everybody's like, oh my gosh, there's just brand new like heroes, and they're coming in, and oh my gosh, it's built on this wager and this awesome mechanic, and then it just kind of just died on like outside of maybe limited, which you could make something happen, So I just when we lost the what was it, cash in or whatever on the ban,
that's a stray bullet that Olympia caught.
It broke my heart. I'm like, it's just you couldn't just like make it like, oh, only Olympia can use this, or ban like it's an Olympia specialty or Olympia Betsy. But
yeah, they might print cash in as a specialization later on. I could definitely see that. That's one of the core ideas of like, people joke, hey, gold is the payoff, gold is the payoff, gold is the payoff. Well, it would be nice if there were other payoffs, right? So you have a choice on your payoff. That would be quite good.
Yeah,
I do think the wagering mechanic is phenomenal, though. It's one of the most interesting things.
Oh yeah,
especially IRL. You can put the wager down. And you say, I don't think. You look him in the eye. You're like, I don't think you're blocking this. Same thing here. Yeah. I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna do this to you. I'm gonna play edge ahead swing. I'm gonna like, Chris, I don't think you're gonna block this. Even if you try to block this, I don't think you can do it. And I'm going to wager edge ahead. I'm going to get an agility token.
See, and this is like why I feel like you are a good player and I'm not, because I go like I just in my head I go, I just don't want you to win the wager, even if it's like a bad decision for me to block. I just go no, like
Yeah. So
like it's a pride issue now. Of
there's many layers to that, right? It's like, does your opponent think that they can block it? That's step one. Are they willing to block it? Is step two. And then do they respect you in terms of like would I make this play without an attack reaction? Maybe. Would I make this
yeah,
attack with an
yeah.
attack reaction? So there's many situations. So all right, stalagmite. Oh man, it's been years since I've had to play against this. Getting getting frostbites on your own turn is pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that okay, let you hit, but if you had a like a go again instance in hand, you
Yep.
know,
I couldn't play it.
you're gonna
Yep.
use it, but then you can't swing. So yeah,
Mhm.
so it's like I'll hit the frostbeat. Hopefully, just
Yep.
maybe let you IP yourself here once,
Yeah. So there's actually
and
an
then go with
interesting
what I want to
interaction
do.
here. Is so now it's Talishar is asking me choose if you want to pay one to create a vigor. So I think that I could create a vigor even though I cannot pay for the frostbite because I have a red in hand. So I think I'll choose yes, pitch this, and I think it works how
Yep,
I want it to work.
yep.
There we go. Okay, it does work that way.
It
That's
looks
kind of
like it.
cool.
Looks like it.
Yeah,
That is definitely a cool thing. So
that
let's
is a cool
do.
interaction. So we got a little bit of everything. We got an agility, vigor, and a gold token. Mr. Olympia having a little bit of everything.
So it's and while you're playing kind of like these hatchets, like
Mm-hmm.
when you're sitting there and saying, okay, I want to build an Olympia deck or I want to build something,
Yep.
what is the general go-to strategy, I guess, in your mind of saying
Mm-hmm.
this is step one, this is step two? So like if a new player is looking at Olympia or looking at
Yep.
Bolton or Dory,
Mm-hmm.
how do they start building out a deck? Like what are the things that they want to look for when trying to develop that game plan?
Okay, well, if you're a new player, I would recommend you just take somebody else's deck list instead of trying to build your own. In order to deck build correctly in this game, you have to really understand the hero, um, because
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand how to create a solidified 80, which is not easy to do if you're kind of newer at the game. So I just recommend you just take a list. But in terms of styles, because each warrior has a different style. Um, for example, if we look at like a hero like KO, there's really only one way to play KO, right? You build 54 six power cards and 3 blood rush
Yep.
fellows and maybe 3 other cards like cast bows or something. But with
Yep, yep, yep.
warriors, there's different styles. So with Dorinthia, I would start with a Dawnblade based list. I would try a more straightforward aggressive list. I would not recommend the weird Jubil CYB deck that I brought to Worlds. That's kind of like a more advanced style. Uh, as for Olympia, we recently did an A to Z episode on that. If you want like the raw strength of the deck, that might be a way to go. But this hatchet style is also very interesting. It teaches you a lot of fundamentals, which I think is very
Mhm.
important as a newer player. So understanding like how to use all your cards, how to use your equipment correctly, being able to shift between offense and defense is very important for
Mhm.
learning players. Okay, well we have an agility token, we have a resource. I think we could just start off by pushing this hatchet of body forward for 2.
Yeah, I will say I'm certainly not in a great spot here. Let myself get down to 26 life when you're down what 6 cards in deck. Like,
Well,
uh,
I think you've been a little bit inefficient in terms of like you've been keeping cards at the end of your turn, which is indicates maybe you didn't think out your turn quite correctly. But Guardian can be kind of tricky
no,
to
no.
think about because like you have several options on defense, like in terms of your
Mhm.
what you're blocking with, and your weapon is very expensive, so that's kind of a
Mhm.
that's an interesting thing is that when a weapon costs 6, like if if I could put enough pressure and force you to give me a card, often that makes your whole
Yeah,
turn fall apart, which is not great. So we're gonna go with the blade
yeah.
flurry. Um,
Smart move.
I'm thinking about whether to break my helmet right now. That would give me some more gold, kind of set me up for a re-equipping of my stuff. But I right now, I mean, I have only 1 gold, so if I break the Dalia, I would get 2 more gold. So I don't know. I haven't
Yep.
drawn into the was it the Golden Anvil, so I guess I'll just hold off on that. I'll just say, okay, just take 2.
Yep. Now let's, it's funny kind of
Uh,
when you're talking about Guardian and Jarl. I have 2 clear memories here of playing Dory into like Icelander, and I was like,
oh
okay,
boy,
this is a tough matchup, but
yeah.
it's not impossible. Like I felt like if you play it right and you
Hmm.
manage the resources, you're okay. Like I had plenty of blues I could play for it, but
Yep.
then I had like the opposite effect of playing Oldhim, where I just wanted to slam my head against the wall forever as Dory.
Yeah.
I think one time I was playing
Yeah.
Charles Dunn, and I think I got him to 36 life, and I was like, "This is a
Yep.
win in my book." you know?
Yeah.
But
Oldhim basically required you to play beyond perfectly.
mhm.
It was a really 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 tough matchup, and the reason it was
Mhm.
so. Are you talking about when they still had Whale and Pulse of Eisenloft and all that? Because that was
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
impossible.
the miserable
Pre-ban
period of
it
time.
was basically impossible.
Yes,
Yes. There's
yeah.
another Seeds of
I
Terrell.
mean,
Okay.
and yeah,
Uh-huh.
and that was kind of my thought process of like, where do you think that Jarl's going to kind of fit in for warrior players? Do you think it's going to be more of the, hey,
Ooh.
I'm fully
Yeah.
anticipating it's going to be like a slow drawn
Hmm.
out game, or do you sit there and say like, oh, if I'm playing Dawnblade and I have enough blues and I
Hmm.
manage my equipment, I should be okay with these frostbites? Or
It really depends on whether people are going to be submitting Summit, the Unforgiving, because the the weapon actually changes. Like the weapon
correct?
indicates whether or not you're going to be running Stalagmite. I think most Jarl decks are going to be running Stalagmite, which means they're either running Titan's Fist or Summit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think for most, so all the warriors play differently into Frostbite. So Dorinthia, I think, would probably be
Mm-hmm.
the most fine because if you're keeping 2 cards to swing your weapon, I'm really not
Mm-hmm.
afraid of that. Like that means you blocked with 2 cards,
Mm-hmm.
which means generally Dory could push through.
Sure.
Um, so I don't really see that as a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just block the CNC. We kind of like our arsenal. He has 1 floating. Yeah, not running Tunic, so we're not scared of Pummel. Plus, we want to throw our armor into the fray anyways because we want to re-equip it. So we'll block 6 here. Um,
That is true.
so
That is
yeah,
very true.
Dory I think probably is the smoothest into Jarl. Now, obviously, traditionally Guardian is very annoying for Dorinthia. Uh, it really
Mm-hmm.
depends on how many D-Reacts Jarl's going to run, like Sync Fate,
Mm-hmm.
Staunch, Turn Timber. Obviously, you get Pulse of Eisenloft back now because Oldhim
Yep.
LL'd.
Yeah.
Um, now, in terms of the other warriors, Bolton is allergic to frostbites. He really, really,
Wait, you tell me all those yellows aren't great for
yeah.
frostbites?
I'm telling you right now, yellows are not good against frostbites. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Um,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
and one of the main reason it's tough is because Stalagmite and Cornet Peak shut down his most powerful turns. So in order for Bolton to
mhm,
really explode in terms of damage, which is what you need to do against Guardians, because there's a threat of getting fatigued.
mhm.
I'm talking about traditional Raiden builds. Um,
Sure, sure, sure.
is so Cornet Peak brings you down to 4 cards instead of 5, and Stalagmite giving you a frostbite at the right time could be the difference between playing a
Mhm.
bolting blade or arsenaling the bolting blade. Could be the difference between
Yep,
playing the Valiant Thrust or arsenaling the Valiant Thrust. Um,
yep,
it could be the difference between playing a Via the Vanguard turn and not. So
yep.
that's I, also Bolton is heavily incentivized to use his equipment aggressively. So like Snapdragons,
Mhm.
Warpath, the Helm. If if you draw a hand that doesn't have charge, you just have to burn your helmet. So uh, yeah, there's a lot of situations where Bolton would have open equipment slots, which means
Mhm. Mhm.
Jarl would be more powerful then. All right, so I don't think you can block this, so I'm going to wager. this edge ahead again to get a agility token for later.
God.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna attempt to not fall in this trap and just give
You're
up my equipment all that
all
early.
right. Okay. All right.
I
You weren't gonna be able to
see,
block it
now I
anyways.
feel better.
I had the attack
Yeah,
react.
yeah. Now I feel like this is gonna still feel bad, like
You
taking
feel
5
less
damage,
bad.
but I definitely feel better. Yeah, I don't feel bad giving up like Cornet Peak or putting something on Bark Skid and still losing it. But
now the interesting thing is that
like
I get a vigor token for the grain. So you see how I've been able to consistently keep agility and vigor tokens on the board? That's kind of like how you want to do it as Hatchet Olympia, kind of keep the momentum going. And you just have to make sure you draw pretty smoothly. In this deck, I think I'm running 29 blues out of 66 or 67. So the blue count is pretty high. The deck is basically like 30 something reds, 3 yellows, and then like 20 high 20s in the blues. So it's going to be pretty smooth, I think, overall. This hand this hand's not bad. We can take it or leave it with this hand, to be honest. I think we'll just block 1. And so basically you're pitching 2 cards to deal 4, and so I kind of noticed that you like to swing this big ass pole arm. So that's why I haven't been blocking with my equipment too heavily, because that would create a on hit.
I will say there's
Winter's Whale.
Yeah, I will say there's part of me that's just going like, I just kind of want to get rid of this shield just so I can start swinging it for 6 instead of just 4 for 6. Like that kind of wouldn't feel too bad at this point. But like now, so let me ask this question too, because like the one thing that I'm hearing a lot from folks too is like whenever they start looking at let's walk with this the warrior class, especially now, is they almost say warriors almost feel like they're too fair in a meta that is very like, oh, look at all these on hits and look at how wide I can go and threaten on hits. It's like, it's like Olympia, it's like, okay, make gold as an on hit. Or Dory, it's like, I get counters, but if you throw a hand at me, I can stop it and then, screw your like kind of your whole game plan. Do you almost feel like warriors are in a spot where they're just quote unquote too fair?
Warrior, a lot of warrior cards, I can't even imagine how they would be busted. That was something that we were talking about in the A to Z episode. It's like, what does a red version of Up the Ante look like? What does a busted Olympia card look like? I can't even imagine it because they've played it very safe with Warrior. I guess the closest thing to being busted is Lumina Ascension. And this is something that the devs have repeatedly said in their like podcasts and like interviews and stuff like that, that they've been very, very careful with Lumina Ascension and cards that surround Lumina Ascension. You could see this in the Dusk Till Dawn cards. They were clearly designed for Raiden. It's just it's one of those things where so we're just gonna use the Shift the Tide of Battle just to get an agility token. Hopefully that he doesn't have a 6 block. Nope. Okay, he doesn't. So we get an agility token for next turn.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. So like, we have agility the whole game. We've had agility for 7-8 turns, basically. Yep.
Yeah. As I said before, I do not play Guardian, and this is why.
That's all good.
But
all good.
Yeah, like, and it's funny. Like the thing that I laugh about, I think, like whenever I play Warrior, is we go through these periods of time where it's like, I don't have to worry about it. And then like we get like a very small window like we had with Hatchet Story, where suddenly everybody's like, oh my god, Valiant Dynamos, they need to be banned. It's terrible. How like they should never be. And I'm like, just let us have that little moment, just that tiny moment of like happiness.
Yeah.
And like of like, certainly something's gonna happen or come around. Ooh. Okay.
Yep. We're just covering that up a little bit. I think one of the best ways to describe it is like, I have never had people be salty on Telestar against me as a warrior. but I
That's
think,
very true.
I mean, they might get ticked off by a route, or they throw their whole hand down and I play Twinning Blade, but like most people are like, oh, it's a warrior. Okay, I'm gonna get a fairly
Yeah.
fair and balanced game. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is that because warrior is very weapon based, this is something they talked about with Dorinthia, is that because warrior is very weapon based and they operate during the reaction step, very few heroes operate in the reaction step. So we have assassins that sometimes do that. Sometimes ninjas do that, but it's reaction step stuff is kind of assassin and warrior's thing. And
Sure.
that creates a situation where if I love the one-off nourishing, by the way. Always on.
It's always
also,
fun.
Also, you could play money where your mouth is in the nourishing emptiness, and then you're cooking. That's a good 2-card combo. So basically, if warrior was in a situation where they had to, if Dorinthia was like the best deck, which she was at one point back in crew,
Yes,
it would force every deck to run even more hate cards than what you would normally have to run against Kano. You think about how many hate cards you have to run against Kano. Probably 5. You have to run 2 extra AB and 3 Oasis. That's 5 sideboard slots gone. Now imagine if Dorinthia is like the best deck in the format. It's like, okay, you have to probably run your class D-React plus Unmovable. That, and then you're adding Kano. It's like if Kano and Dory actually don't really like each other, but they like each other because they pull decks apart, right? It's like, okay, in Blitz back then, it's like you could run Sink Below, but then you're worse against Kano. You could run Sigil, you're better against Kano, but then you're worse against Dorinthia, right? So they kind of work together. It's like, okay, Dory and Kano can stress people's sideboard slots. And so that's kind of what they were thinking is like, okay, if we are in a situation where Dory's like top dog, that she really warps the metagame because you now have to include sideboard slots that you didn't want to. So, oh boy, a command and conquer.
You got no arsenal. It's okay.
Yeah, that's true. So let's see. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing that I was kind of found is like I like playing Dory into new players only because it's like, okay, start thinking about the game, start thinking about what I can have, because I always tell people like Dory excels whenever your opponent doesn't know what's going on. And so it's like trying to teach like, okay, start thinking about the reaction phase, start thinking about, what else may happen here.
Yeah, it's one of the warrior in general is one of the best decks to learn the game with because you have to block and defend and attack. You have to do you have to play both sides of the game and you utilize every step in the turn. So the reaction step. So that's something that I think is pretty interesting. All right. So you blocked that hatchet, sure. All right, time to put my money where my mouth is. And I would like to wager this.
Oh, the temptation is so real.
Do I have the attack
wagering
react?
a gold.
It's wagering 2 gold. So 2 gold if I win, 1 gold if you win. It's not a fair bet.
It would have to be a 0. It would be 0. So it's an Iron Song response.
Could be an Iron Song response. Could be in the swing. Could be take the upper hand. Could be nothing.
I've seen you play.
That's the beautiful thing.
You know what?
All right, just block it for 2. All right.
Let's see if you got it, you got it.
If I got it, I got it.
About it. But
well, you called my bluff. I do not have it.
Hey, I'm so rich.
A gold for you now, sir.
And I'll swing it for 6.
Swing for 6. All right.
Yeah, like, we're getting a little stronger of a pole arm.
Yeah.
But so okay, let's talk a little bit about obviously what's coming up here in about a month or so is the Fang announcement.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on Fang? Because like I know I personally saw it and I was like, okay, this feels like like Bolton-esque in feel of, are you going to be wanting to play a lot of like attacks and then maybe dagger, like attack, dagger, dagger, attack, or something like that? Or do we think
Mhm.
that it's going to be more, still weapon focused as the primary deal?
Oh, so I think the oh, that's not a good card. Get out of here. Go to the bottom. Uh, we're gonna be cracking gold next turn, so we definitely need to find the right card on top. Um, so Fang, I believe, is going to be somewhere between Kasai and Bolton. So going to be fairly
Mhm.
weapon focused, like Kasai is, but going to have some attack actions, mainly in the Draconic pool.
Yep.
So I also think he's going to be a little bit of a build up and setup deck. This is something that
Yep.
we haven't we kind of seen in like Florian Verdance, kind of seen a little bit in Bolton. He
Mhm.
has to build up to 3 fealty, so that could be hard. Oh, that's the perfect card. Oh, baby, that's the gold is the payoff, boys.
So,
Yeah.
so what I'm hearing you say is we got the Olympia spec coming in right now.
No, we got the red Blade Runner that we did not
Nah,
have.
okay.
Yep. So we're good. We're good.
Rough, but better not getting like triple wagered on me.
Yep.
But
So like I said, I think Fang is going to be a little bit more attack action based because he needs that first couple
sure.
Draconic chain links. Now it it's really hard to talk about Fang because it seems like both him and Syndra are extremely fealty based, extremely marking based. So they're going to
Mm-hmm.
utilize a lot of those. Obviously, the stances as well is going to be very important for him. Uh,
Yep.
so it's it's really really hard to speculate, but just kind of looking at things, it looks like it's kind of like a combination of Bolton and Kasai at the moment. Kind of
Yeah,
got
I
that
mean,
ramping build up
and
and all that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, this and I'm glad you brought up the stances, because the stances kind of have me
Mm-hmm.
a little bit scratching my head, because I'm looking at them and I'm going, everything that's on the stances is what I'd want to see on his weapon, like a
Mm-hmm.
go again like condition, or a buff condition, or a swing it again condition.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting there going, okay, if that's not on it, what potentially could these daggers have? And the other thing that I can kind of think of is maybe just like, something similar to Searing Emberblade or something, or something that's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, make your next thing Draconic to keep your fealty tokens around,
Mm-hmm.
or hey, on hit create a fealty token.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of what I'm hoping it is like a one cost swing for 2 on hit create fealty. No
It
go again,
it
like, or
it
anything like that. Just
seems like he's going to have a combo-esque finish, I think. So you build up to 3
mm-hmm.
fealty, you put down 2 dagger stances, maybe 3 if you're lucky. I don't really know how you're going to do that, but
Sure.
you're going to do that. You're going to take a round of incoming damage, and then you're just going to destroy them with like Oath of Steel into attack, 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 attack,
Yeah.
attack, and then they're going to die. So
Yeah.
I think they kind of liked the whole Lumina combo thing from Bolton, but they pulled it back a bit. They're like, okay, let's make it on daggers,
Sure.
not on swords. Let's kind of pull it back a little bit. Let's make it feel a little bit more like the finishing move. So yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, I kept talking, is like, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of nice to just have like courage readily available potentially multiple times in a game.
Yeah.
But and then I got sitting there thinking, like, okay, I imagine we're going to see, and it's hard to speculate without seeing the chess piece and everything that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But in my head I go, people are asking, well, do I play, Flame Scale Furnace? And I said, I don't get that feeling. Like, everything in, like, about him is reading, I'm going to be playing a lot of blues to potentially pay for my daggers or pay for the other things, when the daggers aren't turned on.
I feel like you're not going to be attacking with your weapons unless you have 3 fealty, because Quicksilver Dagger is such a garbage weapon because it's a 1-for-1. That's not great. So if we're at the position where it's 1 damage for 0 resources, okay, now we're possibly cooking here. So
yeah,
that I think that's kind of
I
where,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
and I'm hoping that you're right, and that it's kind of going in between that
Mhm,
Bolton and Kasai feel, because to me, as much as I love warriors and everything like that,
mhm.
it's oh god, 5. Hold on, I let's just block with this one then. But to me,
Mhm.
it's one of those things of sitting there saying, I like the idea. Oh no,
It's time to
of
up the
being
ante.
able to. Oh, it
We're
feels so
gonna
sad.
let's go wage agility and wage gold. Why not? Okay. Hopefully you don't have a dereacted arsenal, because if you do, then I'm gonna lose 2 wagers. It's gonna suck.
Nope,
Oh,
nope. You are
sweet. All right, we
perfectly
got
safe
3
there.
gold. Let's go. All
Oh god.
right, here comes
But
your
like,
weapon.
because like, yeah, because like I don't want it just to be like, oh, it's Fang, I gotta play big Axe Fang, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be too much like story where I want to go like heavy into the aggro side.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to sit there and find that happy balance of like, I could sneak in a couple attack actions. I could like, not just a one of nourishing, or just the CNCs. Like, to me, it's almost like I liked that feel of for Emperor, where it was
Mm-hmm.
like, are we going heavy into the warrior side or heavy into the wizard side?
Mm-hmm.
How much AB do I have to respect? So kind of having that a potential warrior that is more, do I need to prep more for war like weapons, or do I need to prep more for attacks? Like, kind of like when you see a Bolton, do you go, is it Raiden or is it combo?
Mm-hmm.
And that may wildly change how you sideboard or prepare
Yeah,
for it.
I, I'm guessing there will be mainly one strategy for Fang and Syndra. However, what kind of is
Mm-hmm.
interesting is that you can use the fealty tokens to turn anything into a draconic ability. So you could
Mm-hmm.
break a
Mm-hmm.
fealty, play Iron Song response. Now it's a draconic Iron Song
Certainly.
response. So
Yep. Yep.
there might be a little bit more depth to the deck building than, for example, Bolton doesn't really use any warrior cards, like
Yep.
the Dory cards. So
Right.
it's gonna be interesting. I'm really a little bit unsure. Let's just put it that way. I think the so I think the predominant build is going to be kind of using the draconic actions, trying to set up, ramp up to the fealty, and then have a finishing blow. Um, whether or not that is a
Sure.
good style, I don't know.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I mean, and
Uh-huh.
and it's tough to say, because again, it's one of those things of like, oh
Mm-hmm.
god, so this, I know it's wasted value, but I think one of the things that I'm kind of excited about is with
Mm-hmm.
this set, they said, hey, most of the commons and rares aren't going to be shown
That's actually the
until the
reverse
world
of what
premiere.
happened at Tampa for Rosetta, which is like, huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which is like interesting, because again, like I was in Tampa and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool to see all the big stuff come out, but to me, it goes, well, this is kind of an interesting change, because now we can sit here and, oh god, I want to eat 3. Can I afford? I can afford 3, but it's one of those things of saying, okay, if we're not going to see it, that limits a lot of the potential deck building options of saying, what do I prepare for? What's he going to be, until we get those, like, that feed in.
If
Let's do this
so,
again.
if that actually is. Some people say that the majestics are more important than the commons. I I actually don't think so. They're both equally important.
I'd agree.
Um, the
I'd agree.
the majestics are your power cards, but you still need glue to hold the deck together. And
Yes.
without
Yes.
without the glue, like I don't know.
I I I've always kind of said you're right. The majestics are the power, but I've always called the commons and rares like, this is what defines the hero's playstyle. Like,
Mhm.
without knowing this, like, you can see the majestics, you can see the legendaries, and maybe get a little bit of an idea,
Yep.
but knowing here is the core bread and butter, which you're going to see 9 games out of 10
Mhm.
for most of the turns.
Yep.
this is kind of what happens.
Now this
And,
does
and I
make
think that's kind of what I'm excited to see.
the. I think this change was made to assist with the world premiere. One of the things about the Rosetta world premiere is that, let's face it, your deck is going to be 28 to 29 commons and rares, and maybe one majestic, right?
Yep.
So,
yep.
You could just analyze the commons and rares on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the calling and get a very good sense of what you should do. So in this case, because they're kind of hiding that, it could be it could be a little bit more interesting for the limited calling, especially at the world premiere in Prague. So I think that's why they did that.
You go into the world premiere?
I am not. That's a little bit too far for me.
Yeah, I fully get that. Speaking of which, how was when we say world, how was Worlds in Osaka?
Osaka was amazing. I really, really, really am a big fan of Japan and walkable cities in general. Looks like one of my lights died on that side, but that's fine. You still have one light on this side. Osaka was amazing. I love walkable cities, and living in the US, this is one of the things that unfortunately does not happen. Are we gonna wager vigor? Hell yeah, I'm no chicken. Gonna block this and get a vigor. So this is interesting because your weapon costs 6, and I'm like, he doesn't really want to give me 2 cards here, which is
no. This is, and the one thing, like, I've started, like, again, I'm not being a Guardian player. I just picked up Jarl, played like a couple games today just to get an idea of him, and I'm like, oh my god, so much blocks for 2. Like, I keep forgetting.
Yes, it's more than you think.
Yeah. Like, let's just do this. I hate giving up all the armor, but I'm already in such a bad position. I can't just give you half my life. But like, like there's so many times I'm like, oh, this isn't bad. I could block this, and then I look and I go, oh no, wait, I could not do this. This feels really, really bad.
Yeah, you have to. You're kind of forced into play lines after you've done your initial blocking. All right, put a card on the bottom of my deck. We'll put that one on the bottom. And this is for 8,
but
with no on hit.
Just 8. Just 8.
Well, we don't need
bad
boots, so we'll block with our boots.
Oh, the dynamos. I will say that's the best thing. Like, when I was playing Big X Olympia, my favorite thing to do is I ran Shatters in my deck, and just playing that into Kasai whenever she'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna block with dynamos. You just blow it up like turn 1, be like, I'm happy to like give up a turn of damage just to get these dynamos out of here. It always felt so good.
Yeah, Shatter is I hope they print a better version of Shatter, because at the moment that's that card is a little bit niche.
It doesn't feel great. But it's one of those things that I was like, because Kasai was like, okay at the time, I'm like, I just want to play Olympia, but I just hate giving the one value. So I'm like, if I could just break the Kasai spirit just a little bit, oh, so big. Oh, so many 2 blocks.
Yeah, that at least Unforgiving is a 4 block, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, that kind of helps. But so let me ask this too. So like, whenever you're sitting there thinking warrior in your head, and if James White came to you tomorrow and said, Josh, I'm hiring you for LSS, make me a warrior hero. What him warrior a warrior would you make? Would it be more like a Bolton?
Oh boy!
Like, assuming you just can't be like, I'm going to make Dory with Dawnblade that swings for 0 cost for 9 right off the bat. Like, we're not making it broken. Like, what kind of warrior? Like, is there a talent you'd like to see?
I've actually never thought about a whole hero. I've thought about. People have asked me like, "Oh, Josh, like, what type of cards would you like to see?" But like a whole hero, I'd just like to see them finish Olympia. That would be where I would start. You have a hero that's like half baked at the moment. Yeah. All right, so we're really going into this whole gold is the payoff thing. We have broken all four of our
certainly feels
gold.
that way.
Okay, we have finally found to go again. Thank goodness. All right, we are good to go now. All right, gold is a payoff. We had to dig 4 cards deep, guys, but we finally found to go again. Oh man.
Let me see. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to afford this, so let's just give that up.
All right, we have the best go again because this one has reprise.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I assumed as much. What, you tell me 6 cards wasn't enough? Like,
nah, we dug pretty deep. We dug pretty deep. All right, we're gonna go money where your mouth is.
Okay.
Money where your mouth is.
Gross.
We're gonna goblet just to set up for next turn.
Super gross.
And how big is this? This is for 9.
I would say it's fun that you think there's a next turn. Hold on. Let's see. So
I'm gonna wager this, but there's a chance that you could actually block this. Oh, I could wager this twice if I want. Yeah, why not? Let's go big or go home. Let's wager this twice. Because if you have 8 block in your hand, at least I get 3 gold. Is this a 3 block or a 2 block?
So I'm not dead, but I'm as close as I can be, I think.
Oh, okay, that's the 2 block. Okay.
It's still 2 block, but
okay, so we got 3 gold from our wagering. Nice. All right, we got a bunch of cards we have to put on the bottom of our deck. We'll go like this, this. Okay, we're good. All right.
I'm just gonna play this because it's been stuck in my arsenal the whole time and it does nothing. But I'm just tired of it in arsenal.
Channel Mount Isaac.
Times I'm like,
put it out there.
Yeah, I got it early, and I'm like, well, I just can't destroy anything. Like,
there you go.
Oh god, let's do. Right. Okay, so I think we're out of the mangle plan for Jarl at this point.
Yeah, no more mangling. All right, we're gonna do the finishing move for Olympia. We're gonna break our Galia.
Yep.
Okay. So that's 1 wager. Okay, then we're gonna up the ante. And we're gonna choose X is 3. So this is gonna be 3 more wagers and plus X.
Okay.
Oh, why did it auto select everything? Oh, it just auto selected everything. Okay, sure. All right. So if he doesn't have a D-React, oh, he has a D-React. Damn. So you just won 4 wagers. Great.
Hooray!
Nice.
That just means I win the game, right? Like we don't need to worry about
now
it.
You have all the tokens. Now you have all the tokens. Look at that. You have gold, agility, and vigor. Nice.
I'm the Olympia now, but I still can't do anything.
We failed our finishing move. We had to do this instead.
No,
this finisher instead. Okay, so we didn't get the up the ante kill, unfortunately. Sad. All right.
I mean, you still got it at the end. That's fun. Like I love Olympia, and I want him to be like the best warrior in the worst way.
Yeah.
But, so I got one more question for you before I go and kind of lick my wounds here. So we had a we had a local that wanted me to ask you. You know, when we're talking warrior archetype, we got aggro, we got control, we got like a little bit of the combo Bolton. Is there an archetype in warrior that you want them to like lean more into, or one that you think maybe hasn't been explored as much as it can be?
So I know that the whole attack reaction based detrimental on hit thing is Assassin's thing, but it would be cool for warrior to have some more on hits. Like the whole warrior's thing is kind of positive on hit. Like you let me hit, okay, I get a Dawnblade counter. You let me hit, I get a courage token. You let me hit, I draw a card. There's nothing that says like something bad happens to you. That's more of Assassin's thing. Yeah. So I think that's an archetype that they could lean into a little bit more, is like maybe like a scaling type of thing. So it's like every single time you don't block, it gets worse. Maybe like you're bleeding and it's like the bleeding gets worse or something like that.
That would be cool.
There needs to be heavier penalties for saying no blocks to warriors. Of course, that's a very fine line that they have to tread. But I think that's something that they could explore more.
No, I like that idea. I mean, I think that'd be kind of fun because you got so many people that say, "Oh, okay, I'm just playing Dory. As long as I don't block, I could just throw 3 cards at the second swing and be perfectly fine. But I don't want the reprise both times." But having something like that, like a bleed mechanic of like, oh, if you don't block this turn, you bleed, lose 1. Okay, we can stack it. We can stack it.
Yep.
I think that's kind of interesting. So
Yeah,
I'd love to see something like that. But
there needs to be heavy
Josh,
penalties. Yeah.
Agree. But Josh, I seriously thank you so much for coming on, playing the game, and wrecking me with my favorite hero.
Anytime.
I'll leave it up to you to kind of promote, tell everybody where they can find you, the Patreon, your Discord, all that good stuff.
Sure.
So where can we keep up with you in the Warrior Mayhem?
So on Twitter and Blue Sky, I am Josh_TCGZ. I don't post quite often, but I try to make each post impactful. Sometimes I try to keep it a little bit more lighthearted and stuff like that. So there's that. We are also on YouTube, The Card Guys. We have a series called A to Z that we're currently going through, where we bring on an expert for each hero and we talk about a deck list, talk about playstyle and all that. So we're about halfway through. They just have added a couple more heroes, so this series is going to extend into next year. But we've finished 18 episodes right now, so half and half chance that a hero has been covered already. So there's that. We also do weekly streams. If you want to catch my streams, they are Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central. I know that timing is kind of rough for Europeans, so they tend to watch the VODs, but there's that. We also have a Discord and a Patreon and all that. You can find that in the description of any of our videos if you want to do that. We have a pretty lively community on Discord and all that. So yeah, and if you want to message me any questions, feel free to do that. I do tend to get a lot of questions, especially as new Warrior things come out, and if Warrior becomes meta, the amount of messages I get per week does go up quite a bit, but that's okay. I try to answer everybody's questions to the best that I can. So that's where to find me, and that's where to find my team.
I will say too, as somebody that's a patron to you guys, your Discord and Patreon chat server is awesome. There's been so many times I just watch people ask like, "Hey, what about this?" and you guys immediately jump in and answer, and it doesn't seem like you're like, "I'm going to hold anything back that way I can beat you." It's like, no, here's like what we think and the answer, and it's awesome. Like you guys are great with that, so fully encourage that.
Yeah, we're a very transparent pro team. we don't hold things back.
I will also say hopefully we get more VR.
Oh god! Oh, okay, dude, I got so many weird suggestions. Like, Josh, can you pretend to be like the Blade Runner? Can you play a Dory game blind? I'm like, maybe I can. In theory, I was thinking like, those chess grandmasters, they could play multiple games at the same time or multiple games blindfolded. I'm like, am I on that level? I don't know if I'm on that level. I could try that. Also, the VR thing is crazy as well. So
the
we
VR
try to do
thing
a little bit of everything.
I will. Yeah, it was a good time, but but seriously, again, thanks for having us, or thank you for coming on to this stream. I do appreciate it. Again, for anybody that obviously you're here, you know where to find the O3 drop guys. But Blue Sky as well, O3 drop. But other than that, Josh, thank you. Seriously, thank you. And everybody else, go check out the card guys and Josh and follow them everywhere. They're a great group of guys. So seriously can't encourage it enough.
All right,
but other than that, that's all I got. But thanks everybody for tuning in.
All right, take care.